So our first set of video notes is going to be fairly simple, writing and solving equations. You've done this since 6th grade, so I just want to kind of talk you through some key points to refresh your memory. So these are the pages out of your book, and we are going to be using our algebraic method. We're going to take a couple of notes over here. That algebraic method, if you remember, there's a big poster on my wall. It is to distribute, collect like terms. We're going to discern the difference between like terms and variables on one side. Inverse or undo the add subtract, and then inverse or undo multiply divide. Today we're going to start with just 4 and 5, and as the week goes on we're going to get bigger and bigger. You may want to use a calculator just to check your work, because that's going to be a good habit that we have. Determine the number, explain how you came up with the solution. So this is just, most of you can do this by looking at it. Multiply me by 3 and increase that by 5. I am 20. What's my number? So we know from the past, increasing is plus times. So I'm just going to use the letter R. So 3 times me, because I'm Ray, plus 5, and I am 20. So what is your number? So most of you can look at this and you can say that the number is what? 15? Nope. This is 15 divided by 3 is 5. Okay. How might have you used this equation? So we've already written the equation. We don't need to do that again. But what we can do here is we can do this algebraic method that we wrote down at the top. Right? So if we're looking here, number 1, there's no distributing, there's no like terms, those variables are already on one side. Undo the add subtract. So we would subtract 5 from both sides. And remember, it is very important that you show these steps. 3r equals 15. Undo the multiply divide. Divide by 3 on both sides. We get 1r equals 5. Remember, that variable has the flu. It's tested positive. It needs to be by itself. So that is how we would look at that. Again, most of you could do that in your head. Remember, an equation shows that two expressions are equal. We have that equal symbol, not to be confused with just an expression. So that's going to be your math sentence without an equal sign, okay? So now let's talk about solutions. So 5 is our solution. 5 is the number that makes this equation true. Well, how do we know that? We can put 5 here, and we can see that 3 times 5 plus 5 is in fact 20, because 15 plus 5 is 20. There you go. We did that last year, and you're going to have a calculator this year so that you can check that. We'll show you in just a minute. How do you know if this number is a solution? Well, you plug it in. If it's a solution, you can plug it in and you get equal on both sides. So if I'm going to put the 6 here, I'm going to say 2 plus 4, 6 minus 1 equals 22. Now you can do this a couple ways. You can do this just straight out, order of operations, right? 2 plus 20 is 22. Yay, it works. Or you can use your calculator. This is the calculator we're using in class. You can use any calculator to do this. So always new document. If it asks you, you want to save, tell it no. We're going to do calculator. And we can put in exactly what we wrote here. So we can say 2 plus 4. You've got parentheses down here by the 0. Parentheses 6 minus 1. Close parentheses. You've even got an equal sign right here below control, equals 22. It tells you that is true. So yes, it is a solution. So that's how you can check your work. Let's do one more, and then you can do C on your own. We'll talk about that in class. So if I did 12 minus 24 divided by 4 equals 8. Well, I know 24 divided by 4 is 3. 12 minus 3 is 9. 9 does not equal 8. Well, let's check it and make sure. So I'm going to say 12 minus, you can make a fraction. We're going to talk about this in class. So right above the divide, so control divide. 24 over 4. I know you don't have one of these at home, but we'll work on it in class. Equals 8. And look, it says false. So you know that is not a solution. So we did that correctly. So I would like you to try C. Solving, this talks about one way to solve equations containing variables. Use the algebraic method, also called the symbolic method. We just are going to call it the algebraic method. You don't need to worry about that other vocabulary. All right, so what's going on back here? We have all kinds of properties. I'm going to tell you right now, we don't actually need any of these properties except for the distributive down here. In 6th grade, we did talk about commutative and associative. All of this undo and inverse essentially says, you know, up here, addition property of equality. If I add something on the left and I add it on the right, so we can also call that the inverse. We're not going to worry about properties. I am worried about, can you solve an equation and is it the correct solution? I do not like how the book does this all on one side. That looks terrible. So we're not actually, you can look at that, but we're going to come down here and we're going to do a couple of these. So if I looked at, I think B is pretty easy. Let's look at C. So I'm going to write it, we'll just do it here. I have like terms here. I have no distributing, there's no parentheses. So 12D minus 3D. So if I have 12 donuts and someone ate 3, now I only have 9 donuts. 9 donuts plus 2 equals 5. Now it looks like what we're used to. Inverse add subtract. I ran out of room. 9D equals 3. Erasable pen is a fabulous thing. Divided by 9. Now, don't write 3 here. 3 divided by 9 is not 3. This is 1/3. Now, you do need to plug that in. Again, you can do that in your calculator. Or, since you're at home, you can always practice this when we get to class tomorrow. So, 12 times, I'm going to make my fraction 1/3. Again, we're going to practice this in class, so don't stress over that calculator piece. 3 times 1/3 equals 5. True, we did it right. If we got false here, that means we did something wrong. So if you came up with 3 here, 12 times 3 plus 2 minus 3 times 3 equals 5. You're going to get false, so you know you did something wrong. So it's very, very important that we're checking this and making sure we know what we're doing. Oh, here's a fraction. Let's look at E and let's look at G, and then we'll move to the next thing. So again, undo the add subtract or inverse add subtract. Something divided by 4 is 5. So this is where some of you stumbled in the last couple years. So we're dividing here. So the inverse of dividing is to multiply. Or you can multiply by that reciprocal piece, right? X equals 20. We'll check it in just a minute. Make sure you're boxing those answers for me so we can find them. Here we have collecting like terms. A negative 12 and a positive 8 is a negative 4. So now we're going to add, inverse add subtract. 12 equals 3 over 2w. So again, remember when you divide a fraction, you have to multiply by the reciprocal. Right? Remember that whole keep change flip we did several years ago. So W equals, so I get 24 over 3, which is 8. And again, we do want to check these, so I'm just going to come over here. 20 over, doing this one up here, 4 plus 7 equals 12. Yay! Let's check this one. 8 equals, doesn't matter if you put it in backwards. 3 over 2 times 8 minus 12 plus 8. True. Yay, we did it really well. So I'm hoping this is a nice little review for you. on how to do fractions with our equations. I've got one more word problem for you. I want you to think real careful as we go through this, because our other topic that we do need to be able to do is to write an equation, right? Solving is easy. Julio has $5 more than Dan. All together, so that's it, your equals, they have 19. How much does each young man have? So if D is the amount of money in dollars Dan has, use D to write an expression to represent the money Julio has. So let's break this up. Julio, actually I'm going to write over here, there's a little bit more. I'm just going to write an equation for this first sentence. Julio has, so Julio equals, remember some form of is always equals, 5 more than Dan. All together, so now we're taking Julio plus Dan, they have $19. So we have to think about this really carefully. We have two separate equations here. They only want us to write one. So actually, this is talking about expressions, but we'll jump down to here. So let's think about this. If Julio is Dan plus 5 and all together they have 19, then we can take Julio. How do we represent Julio? Well, Julio is 5 plus Dan plus Dan equals 19. So this is our equation. Okay, so let's process what we did there. If Julio is 5 plus Dan, and all together they have 19, then we have to use 5 plus D for Julio, and then we have another D for just Dan by himself. So we're never going to state our properties, but we can solve this. Remember, if you have a variable all alone, there's a 1 in front of it. So this is 2D plus 5 equals 19, and now you can solve it. So the trickiest part here is writing it and putting this combination together. 2D equals 14. Undo the divide. Dan has 7. Now we didn't answer both questions because the question was, how much does each young man have? So we can come back up here. If Dan has 7, we know Julio is 5 plus Dan. So 5 plus 7, Julio has 12. And we can check that 7 plus 12 is in fact 19 because they both had $19. So what does this mean? This means that Julio has $12 and Dan has $7. Is it reasonable? Does it make sense? Yes, because we can plug it into our original. Oh, sorry. We can plug it into our original, 5 plus D, and then we said Julio plus D equals 19. So if I plug in my numbers, if I say 12 equals 5 plus 7, and I say 12 plus 7 equals 19, then they are equivalent on both sides. So we did well. Okay, so hopefully that's a nice little recap for you on solving equations. We're going to do some more on this when we come back to class tomorrow. Remember, I do want you to do letter C, just verifying that solution, and we'll check it when we get back to class. Have a great day.